Attention! The following testimony contains explicit references to violence, abuse, prison, illness, and death. Viewer discretion is advised. What you're about to hear is a testimony of a man from Turkmenistan in prison for being homosexual who survived incarceration, persecution, and escaped from his own country. I'm rather a cold person, but prison can break anyone. In prison, we see many people die. Not everyone can withstand the pressure. Many cannot bear it. And unfortunately, even after release, many people take their own lives. That is why I think those of us who manage to survive are fortunate. Prison is a terrible place. Inside, there were all kinds of people. I remember a young man with mental disability. A mullah, a Muslim religious leader, had abused him, but the authorities imprisoned both of them, even though that man was a victim, even though he was a fragile person. I remember a young man, HIV positive. He was very sick, but they forced him to work and mistreated him. When he was released, his family refused him. People around him looked at him with disgust. He could not endure it and took his own life. Many of us were HIV positive. Families did not come to visit us. They did not bring food nor help. To survive, many of us sold ourselves. People did it for money, for food, for cigarettes. I do not think it's even right to judge anyone. Everyone was trying to survive, to stay alive, however they could. In prison, they prepared disgusting slop, as if we were animals. The choice was to eat the garbage they gave you or sell yourself to survive. We could have eaten food brought by our families, but our families never brought us food. We had been disowned. And this is how HIV and tuberculosis spread. There was no medicine, there was no medical care, there was no protection from the authorities. One of the worst days I remember in prison was a night. They woke all of us from the garem in the middle of the night. The garem was the place where they kept the humiliated prisoners, separated from the others. They told us that sewage pump had broken and that we had to clean everything by hand. All night long they forced us to carry buckets of dirty water and dig through other people's excrement. It was considered work meant only for us. Only for us. The other prisoners were not even allowed to touch those things. We were considered lower than everyone else. It was a terrible night. There were about 70 of us from the garem, carrying others' men's shit in buckets. I also remember a man who was punished in a horrific way by a prison chief. They injected something under his skin with a syringe, human saliva. They threw him outside in the open. The man began swelling and slowly rotting alive from the inside. That was when I learned that human saliva is full of bacteria and that human bites, for example, carry a very high risk of infection. In conditions of poor hygiene and without medical treatment, they can cause devastating infections with the risk of amputations and death. He gave off a terrible smell of rotting flesh. We were forced to sit in front of him 3 times a day during inspections. He died before our eyes after 10 long days of agony. When he died, the prison chief told everyone that this would be the fate of anyone who did not obey the rules or behave properly. Everything you have heard happens very often in prison. This is where Aslan's testimony ends, but not his journey. Many of the people you have heard about are dead, others are still there, others are trying to escape. He managed to flee, and now he helps other people in danger. If you would also like to help LGBT+ people facing persecution and extreme vulnerability, you can support the Solidarity Fund of La Tenda di Gionata. And if you believe, I also ask you for a prayer for those who today are still fighting to survive